the early socialist political organizations in South Africa were not specific organizations of tendency, but synthesist organizations, or weak organizations of tendency, strong on theory and long-term strategy, but weak on tactics. This diversity of views within these organizations led to three different results. A, the subsequent loss of social insertion and eventual demise. B, attempted but unsuccessful regrouping. Or C, incorporation of militants into the CPSA, again, the Communist Party of South Africa, and its alignment with Lenin, Russia's Lenin, and the two-stage theory, which maintained that racism must be defeated first and capitalism later. Thus, anarchist and syndicalist blocs were marginalized, expelled, etc. The relatively small syndicalist unions in South Africa rapidly faded away. Some disappeared, some were drawn into the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union, the ICU, and a large but very confused black union, or black specific union, influenced by both syndicalism and various strands of nationalism. Other syndicalist unions gave way to unions under Communist Party South Africa influence. Meanwhile, in the 1920s, white laborist unions drew closer to the state and were incorporated into corporatist structures after the emergence of the racist developmental state, as said above. And to this day, South Africa's largest trade union federation, the Congress of South African Trade Unions, COSATU, which is largely black, although not limited to black organizing, the vast majority of its members are black and African. This federation is still in alliance with the ruling African National Congress, as well as in a tripartite alliance with the ANC and the SACP, the South African Communist Party, renamed in 1950. Which means in effect that COSATU, the Congress of South African Trade Unions, has been incorporated into a quasi-corporatist structure, as happened to the unions in Brazil, with the onset of dictatorship there. In both countries, unions became increasingly aligned to nationalist, developmentalist, and statist politics. Differences in detail are due to different racial dynamics and to the relative weaknesses of South African syndicalism. Owing to the lack of specific anarchist political organizations of tendency, anarchists suffered various failures. They could not withstand the effects of both the Bolshevization of the socialist political organizations and subsequently the syndicalist unions and state repression. They could not find new spaces for social work and insertion with the onset of the decline in the syndicalist movement, providing a new pole of attraction for workers and militants who did not support the two-stage theory. And those outside of the CPSA were unable to sustain their political activities when this CPSA disbanded in 1950 and reorganized itself underground as, like I said before, the South African Communist Party, or SACP. A clear, conscious, Bakuninist organization of tendency, or a boot, never mind that, might have been better positioned to A, understand the character of the Bolsheviks and the Russian Revolution, B, expel comrades seduced by Bolshevism, C, seek alternative modes of struggle in periods of retreat, and D, maintain a consistent vector of ideas even in periods when the social vector was almost entirely lost. In Brazil, unlike in South Africa, the remaining anarchists were able to maintain a continuity between generations, keep the idea alive, and preserve the historical memory of the movement through study circles, publications, etc. Thus, it is possibly due to this that libertarian ideas and values are more widespread and understood in Brazil than in South Africa, and one might hypothesize. It is for this reason that the contemporary libertarian movement in Brazil is larger, more developed, and has a greater social insertion with deeper and more solid roots than in South Africa. Although there is, of course, still a long way to go to recover the social vector there as well. Brazil and South Africa in the 1910s were part of the glorious period of anarchism and syndicalism, the time when the global exploited masses armed with anarchist ideas reached their point of greatest strength and hope. But the hopes were not realized, and much of the strength was lost. In subsequent decades, large parts of the global working class were drawn towards statist ideologies of Bolshevism, nationalism, developmentalism, social democracy, etc. Well, as we strive to reverse these defeats, clear and principled Bakuninist specific organization, anarchist specific organization, with theoretical unity, strategic direction, and tactical coherence, can learn from and pass on the lessons of the past and play a key role in rebuilding the social vector, combating status confusion, and propagating anarchism. Thanks very much, guys.